So, the Laken Riley Act is moving very quickly through the chambers, quicker than even I thought it would, with even less contention than I thought it would have. But we just saw the Senate advance the act with massive bipartisan support. Sorry, that is a vote on the motion to proceed. The final vote was 84 to 9, but definitely a suggestion that it's going to pass overwhelmingly. The Laken Riley Act would change federal law to require ICE to take custody of people in the country illegally and detain them over theft-related crimes. It would target people who are charged, arrested, or convicted for committing acts of burglary, theft, larceny, or shoplifting, according to the bill text. The legislation would also empower state attorneys general to sue the federal government for alleged failures of immigration enforcement if the state or its residents experience harm, including financial harm in excess of $100. Some Democrats who represent competitive states or border communities have endorsed the bill. It passed the GOP-led House overwhelmingly, with 48 Democrats voting for it. In the Senate, Republicans have 53 seats, and with full attendance would need at least 7 Dems next week to ensure final passage. One school of thought among Dems is that the existing bill is poorly written but can be salvaged with amendments. The underlying bill looks like a not well-constructed piece of legislation, but we could potentially make it better. The Senate aide said Democrats are considering amending the language to narrow the threshold for what triggers ICE detention of an undocumented person. Currently, it covers anyone who is charged with, is arrested for, is convicted of, admits having committed, or admits committing acts which constitute the essential elements of any burglary, theft, larceny, or shoplifting offense. The current language for this bill that would see ICE detain people is, hey, did an undocumented person do anything related to law enforcement? Even if they are not charged, did an undocumented person get arrested for minor theft or shoplifting? Did an undocumented person who has a family here, who has been here for decades, shoplift $20 worth of snacks from a convenience store? ICE needs to detain them. The Democrats intend to engage in a serious way to improve it, not make pie-in-the-sky requests. The party has been willing to engage on tougher border laws for a while, saying this is where voters continue to move and good elected officials continue to listen to them. And that is an incredibly damning reality that we are experiencing. That is an issue that the Democratic Party is abandoning people on. We have seen the Democratic Party move staunchly further and further and further to the right when it comes to immigration. Joe Biden's current immigration policy, it is essentially the exact same border policy as Trump. All this open border fear-mongering bull that Republicans like to throw at Democrats is just that. It's bull. Democrats agree with Republicans on basically every single thing, but being rhetorically incredibly racist. And we're seeing a continuation of that now with the Laken Riley Act looking likely to pass with Democratic support. It's unconstitutional, puts long-settled immigrants at risk, and enables the Ken Paxtons of the country to target families. Democratic aide said the political dynamic on the issue is changing. I think for a long time, Democrats have let the advocacy groups push them to the left on immigration and border security issues. This has not been a thing for a very long time. We have a staunchly far-right immigration plan, pushing them to oppose even popular immigration border security reforms because it could lead to any deportation. This past election showed that's not where a majority of Americans are at, and that Dems need to be clear they are against criminals, even if that means deporting an undocumented immigrant who committed crime. This is infuriating, and it is the apex of Republicans' biggest pet issue for a long time now. Why is it that so many Americans say they support an even further right-wing, deportation-oriented attack against immigrants? Because Republicans have been dominating the conversation on this issue for so long, and media has played right into their hands. The levels of fear-mongering over immigrants is absolutely insane. This quote here, Dems need to be clear they are against criminals, even if that means deporting an undocumented immigrant who committed a crime. Undocumented immigrants commit crime at a statistically significant lower rate than American citizens. You want proportionately less crime in this country per capita? Then you want more undocumented immigrants. These people are trying to make a life for themselves and their families. The lawful ports of entry, the lawful methods of entering this country are impossible to undergo. It takes years to go through the proper channels, and then you may be told no for completely arbitrary reasons. You could seek asylum, which is what most of these people do, and are therefore not even illegal immigrants in the first place, which is why I keep seeing the word undocumented instead of illegal, because seeking asylum is not illegal. You could do that. It is an internationally recognized human right. It's even a human right technically recognized by American law, but we don't act like it. We call every single last one of these undocumented people illegal. All media does this. Freaking MSNBC does this. All media, all popular media, has played into this Republican playbook of calling every single last undocumented immigrant illegal when it's not true. Seeking asylum is legal, and it's the only practical way for these people who are living in dangerous situations in Mexico and other countries to make it into America in the first place, because the other channels are extremely ineffective, extremely slow, and can arbitrarily tell them no at any point in the process. These motherfuckers are facing violence at their home. They don't have years worth of time to fill out the proper documents and to answer all the questions and to go through all the proper screenings and to travel for interviews and like that. So they make the treacherous trip through the rivers that are infested with razor wire placed there by the governors of Texas and Greg Abbott, putting razor wire in the water, doing everything they can to brutalize these people and their children on the way up here so that they can enter our borders and begin that asylum seeking process. But now, if because they are hungry and don't have much money because it's hard to make money and get a job as an undocumented immigrant currently seeking asylum, and they end up nabbing like $20 worth of snacks and shit from a convenience store, and they get caught and they get arrested, they'll be detained by ICE, separated by their family, and as ICE has shown with their long history of precedent, will suffer abuse at the hands of ICE. Their children will suffer abuse at the hands of ICE, of the physical kind, of the psychological kind, yes, of the sexual kind. And there's a non-zero chance they'll be killed in these detainment centers, because these detainment centers are modern-day concentration camps, and they're only going to get worse under Trump 2.0. Remember when we all pretended to care? I actually cared, but apparently most of us pretended to care under Trump about the separation of family policies and these ICE detention camps that were committing these grotesque human rights abuses that we heard about every single day. Well, guess what? That's still happening, and it's about to get way worse than it's ever been, because Democrats and media outlets are capitulating to this bullshit idea that undocumented immigrants are causing problems in this country, are committing crime, they're bringing drugs, they're rapists, and some I assume are good people. That isn't true, and we have no institutional allies anymore saying it. Dems aren't fighting this anymore. Media outlets haven't been saying it for years. And so, of course, the Laken Riley Act is going to end up passing very soon. And, of course, ICE is going to be encouraged and given the resources to detain people and do even worse things than they did under Trump 1.0 with Trump 2.0. Families will be separated, grotesque human rights abuses will be committed against them and their children, and we act like we're not entering a genocidal era for this country. We've been here before with Trump 1.0. We've already had this concentration camp moral dilemma, and we're being promised every second of every day by these, and not only these, but now also their Democratic colleagues and the so-called left-wing media, that it will be worse this time. And for some reason, that's good for the health of this country. Please think about what our current immigration policy is, and then think about what the incoming administration and its allies keep saying about it. How it's nowhere near enough, how it's the opposite of enough, right? What we have right now are open borders, and we're flooding these people in, and they're causing all these problems. They are promising us to make the problem 20 times worse. And we act like we're not about to enter a genocidal era of America. We're being promised it by people who now have the tools at their disposal to do anything they want without consequence. And there are zero institutional opponents anymore. As we get closer, it's just becoming more and more real. And I don't think any of us, even myself included, have fully reckoned with just how bad things are going to get very, very soon. Look out for each other. Get to know your neighbor. If you know an undocumented immigrant, well, first of all, you do not know their documentation status, okay? And second of all, be a friend.